This mini lecture is designed to introduce to you the mental discipline of business simulations, in this case specifically marketplace and our simulation for the course. Basically, what I would like to do is I would like to talk about the learning strategy and the reasons why simulation is good as a advanced course. You all heard the Chinese proverb that if you listen, you might forget. If you see it, you might remember it. But if you do it, you usually understand it. Hopefully, because we are going to touch on many core aspects of business in different disciplines, you'll remember the concepts that you were exposed to in previous courses. And by designing decisions, applying those decisions to a business situation with feedback that you get through the results of the marketplace analysis and in response to other teams' decisions, you will gain a real good holistic understanding of the intricacies of a business endeavor as a holistic endeavor. Business simulations are kind of a form of combative training. I don't like the word combative. I like to use the word competitive training, where your participants, you and your team members, will be pitted against other teams and their team members. In your case, the other teams are your colleagues of your course. It is very important that you understand that this simulation is not run against a computer. The simulation is run against the other teams in your course, and only the other teams in your course, not a global number of teams. There are simulations that do that. Ours is designed to just pit the teams in your course against each other. That is actually a very stimulating experience because many of you know each other from previous courses. So you are actually going to compete against your friends. And hopefully, under the watchful eye of your training coach, me, we are going to have a very stimulating, very constructive, and hopeful fun course. The important part on why I am asking you to change your responsibility in functional areas during the course of our simulation is what you probably heard as an example of learning. If you have a lot of blind people trying to identify an elephant and don't really know the holistic picture, every blind person will actually understand something else of the elephant and don't really get an overall understanding of the entire animal. And quite frankly, you most likely work already. And when you work, you have specialties. You have expertise in certain areas. Some of you work in finance, some of you work in marketing, some of you work in operations. So you have expertise that you apply daily. And this is really important because I don't want you just to exert yourself on the expertise that you already have, but through the changing of functional responsibility throughout the simulation, really get to go in depth and learn in depth other functionalities that you might not be as comfortable with, even though you already had the courses. Therefore, I'm going to ask you to have a certain number of responsibilities according to the decisions that you have to make for quarter one in the simulation for quarters 1 through 3. Quarters 1 through 4. For quarter number 5, which is our venture capital assignment, I am going to ask you to change responsibility to a different set of functional areas. And after our venture capital fair for quarters number 6 through 7, I am again asking you to change responsibility to a new set of functional areas so that by the time we are through the simulation, you had exposure to 3 different sets of functionalities. And you will see what I mean is the moment you're going to go into quarter 1 and start looking at the decisions that you have to make. As you see here by the experts who developed the simulation, we had experts from every functional area. Therefore, the concepts in this simulation are holistically excellent. You are learning by doing. So basically, by doing this switch every quarter, 1 through 4, 5, as well as quarter 6 through 8, you are learning all aspects of the business by managing these functional areas. In addition to that, you also gain experience because you are going to sit together probably in your meetings with other team members coming to final decisions, and hopefully in these final decision meetings you are going to explain to your fellow team members why you arrive at your certain decisions for your function area and how your decisions might influence the overall well-being of your firm. We are going to work in a sequential scenario between quarters 1 through 5, in which you have ever increasing complexity for your decisions. We start easy and it becomes a little more difficult. Then in quarters number 5 through 8, we are also introducing negotiations with other teams in regard to research and development. So the simulation builds up in complexity, and decisions are introduced as they're relevant to the life cycle of the industry. As you saw in this syllabus, we have different learning outcomes for the course. One of them is that we would like to develop your teamwork, interpersonal, and leadership skills. We are changing the president for your firm in the 3 periods that I outlined already. And we are also going to have peer evaluations that are done either in quarters number 5 or in quarters number 8, so that you and your team members will know from each other how you're doing in regard to your teamwork and interpersonal skills. These peer evaluations are important. They are actually part of your overall grade, so these are serious exercises. Hopefully, we are going to promote better decision making by putting you together in team decision meetings for each quarter and understanding the totality of an integrated company and how your decisions, including management, sales outlets, marketing, production, and human and financial resources decisions, have an impact on the overall well-being of the firm. And overall, we hope that the repeat of all these decisions in different responsibilities, functional areas, will give you feedback on all the concepts that you learned before. In addition to that, one of the learning outcomes is that we want to develop very strong skills in strategic planning and tactical execution. Because the company is faced with different trends, different scenarios throughout the quarters due to the decision making of your competitive firms, you will not be able to apply one blueprint throughout the 8 quarters, but you will be forced to think on the go and probably adjust your strategy and your tactics several times during the game. Very importantly, we would like to make sure that we instill a bottom line focus in all the decisions you're making. And bottom line here is not necessarily restricted to financial bottom line, but it is actually an overall sustainable business bottom line, making sure that you are a business that is an ongoing concern and will be successful over the long term. Therefore, we are actually creating an outcome evaluation that is based on the balanced scorecard. I will go into more detail at a later mini lecture. Overall, it is very important that you are understanding the market. Since you're starting from scratch, there is no market at the start of the simulation. You're going to start out with the market research piece that you order in your first quarter, which gives you signals of what potential customers might want from a microcomputer. Based on what you and your competitive teams do, you see the market develop, and you'll actually get market data from research every single quarter, which of course signals certain market trends, signals certain market positions of your competition, and will have an impact on your strategic plan. Hopefully, your strategic plan and your tactics will tightly sync, and the tactics are really in pursuit of your overall strategic plan. At the end of the simulation, we hopefully have a result that means you lived and embraced the performance-based management concepts throughout the weeks of our simulation, and you learned what it takes to start up a new venture. That's the introduction for the simulation and the mental discipline of a simulation. I am going to follow up with some feedback questions that I'd like you to answer.